Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, everyone. Let me introduce myself first. My name is Umi Rachmawati, and I'm going to present a topic about learning from journals and reflective question strategy, reflection of English speaking class. Okay, so this study is drawn due to a number of reasons. The first one, what we need to consider as lecturers and also researchers, we have to refer back to the main purpose of learning, especially in formal learning. We have the school learning here, and then the main focus of the learning is actually lies on the processes. So it's not only about the output or the outcome, but also the process. And then in relation to the learning outcomes and also the process, we have to know that the students should be able to share knowledge, understand the knowledge, and also behave as they are expected to. In speaking, we have to realize that they have to be able to speak fluently in terms of their contextual situation. Okay, the first consideration of teaching is the process which in line with the result as well. And then the process of the teaching and learning is reflect on what the student and the teacher have done in the class as the direct factor on the student's learning achievement. The teaching and learning process is taken from the lesson plan driven from the syllabus, and the curriculum presents the learning activities and the learning materials, as well as the process of the teaching is organized based on the student's current condition and needs in the teaching and learning processes. Different from normal condition, the teaching and learning process during the pandemic COVID-19 forces teachers and students to conduct more digital learning environment through challenges and opportunities. Students and teachers are struggling in their teaching and learning process to get the goal of the lessons. New era stimulates the development of the teaching and learning due to different psychological and physical conditions. The online classes through several digital platforms are developed to facilitate the students in learning to achieve their educational goals. The most problems faced by the students and the teachers deal with the unequal facility, especially in rural areas. The students' learning motivation also directly influences the students' involvement in the class. Their independence and the endurance are required to have better learning process as their internal motivation is high. In relation to the English lesson, students of pharmacy enroll themselves in this course as their non-subject study. The subject consists of 2 credits with 1 credit for the theory and 1 credit for practical activity. The course includes the use of English for pharmacists, dealing with handling the patient and drugs or medication. The skills of teaching and writing to organize effective and communicative communication to the patients are required. The course offers more activities on productive skills and provides more opportunities for the students to have real and contextual communication to the patient. Based on the preliminary observation, the students of pharmacy and study program have low speaking skills and can be seen from the way the student respond the question addressed by the lecturer. The students showed low interest to the class that only 2 or 3 students from 40 students who were desired to be active during the class. And the class did not run well due to the less participation from the students, and then the result from this, the students also practice their speaking in videotape cannot run maximally. In addition, the class was done online due to the pandemic that resulted in several problems. First, the students were not completely participating in the class. Second, the students were not willing to respond to questions addressed for them. And then the digital facility, which is not so good for the students, influence their communication. And then the varied position of the students, geographical condition cannot support the student digital learning. And then conducting teaching and learning processes through unstable and low internet facilities cannot maximally achieve the goals of the learning. To encounter the problems of the students' learning motivation and the digital learning facilities, there is a need to make mutual approach with deeper and better communication with the students. It is required to understand the student needs and wants more comprehensively through critical thinking and critical analysis on the students' current interests and consideration on the English as a foreign language. Thinking critically about students' current achievement and their feelings on the learning processes requires the reflection from both the students, and the lecture will stimulate their learning environment that influence the students and the learning. Reflection process is suggested to be done in the teaching and learning of speaking to get rid of the classes. The reflection will stimulate the students and the lecturer to conduct the better learning from the experiences they have got. And then it also enables lecturers to conduct knowledge to construct knowledge through asking questions, criticize the responses, evaluate the responses, and develop a learning plan. The reflection can be done through journals and reflection questions addressed to the students, and the journal can be used as one of the sources to find the real condition of the students in their learning and lecturer as well. Okay, so in this topic of the discussion, we deal with the importance of teaching speaking, the importance of reflective teaching, and also the journals in reflective teaching. The research method here, I conducted a qualitative approach, which was surveys and questionnaire administered to find information to the students to indicate how useful they find group work activities and link the most appropriate activities for them. Those are useful for the domain of effective dimension of the teaching and learning, including beliefs, attitude, motivation, and also preferences. A number of discussion we have classified here. The first one is the reflective teaching. In this topic, the lecturer is expected to be facilitate the students with the maximum effort to achieve the goals of the teaching and learning. They are familiar with the use of reflective teaching, but then it is quite difficult for the teachers, for the lecturers to conduct the reflective process because of the time allowance for the teaching classes. Therefore, the reflection done during the speaking classes seems problematic, and it is suggested that the time allowance for the teaching is more and will be reflective portion. To deal with this problem, time allocation, we can find a number of strategies. This one, the teaching and learning strategies that can be used by the student during the speaking class, and then the students practice of speaking outside the classroom, and the students and lecturers' point of views and feeling of the speaking class. The second aspect deals with the student practice outside the class. As mentioned earlier, the students have various activities to support their speaking practice. Final aspect for the initial reflection lays on the students and lecturers' point of view of their speaking mastery and speaking classes. With limited opportunities for the students to practice the student speaking skills, the students consider that the speaking skill is from rural area is not highly needed for them in their daily communication. The next one is critical thinking skills on reflection. So conducting reflection for the students learning process requires the students to think critically. Reflection is a process of thinking about what has been done and analyze the context to develop a better plan to achieve the goals of the students' learning. And then the student personal reflection on their learning achievement is also considered in this study. Then the next one is the roles of journals in learning. In relation to the experience in the language learning, students stated that they have different learning experiences. Many of them join more classes with memorizing vocabulary, pronouncing it loudly, and then they have to use the vocabulary. They have the vocabulary readers, and they were expected to memorize all the words. The speaking class deals with more on making conversation, especially in information context. And then the journal activities we deal with the activity that the students have in the class. And then the process of teaching and learning speaking is also considered to find the best way in teaching. The portion of reflection during speaking class is also under the consideration. And then the relationship between the reflective skills and the student achievement on their learning also considered to be one of the important part of the teaching and learning process. And also the learners believe about the topic, about the skills they have to master is very important to make them conscious that they have to learn for their own needs. As a conclusion, first, the students realize that speaking classes were required to train the students' spoken language skills in their professional needs. And then the most challenge the students face in the learning is the opportunities to deal with their self-confidence to speak instead of considering the grammar and pronunciation faults. And then finally, the use of journals and reflective question is to prepare better learning activities merge to the students' learning needs and wants. I think that's all for my presentation. Thank you for your participation and your consideration. I welcome question from you all, and wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.